Hello! Right, this time I'm going to do something a bit different. This time I'm going to be happier, because last video I was looking at it and I seemed really depressing. It was even gloomy, so I've turned a few lights on and hopefully it'll go a lot better. I'm going to jump straight in with the review because I have recently seen Hobbit, the Desolation of Smaug, and it is weird. All I can think about when I'm watching it is that's not right, that's not right, that's not right, because I made the mistake of reading the book halfway through watching the film series. I do recommend reading the book. It is a very good book to read. It's very easy, very quick, and it's a lot of fun, even if it is to read to your kids, which is why it was originally wrote. Don't make my mistake of reading it after watching the first Hobbit and thinking, I wonder what the rest of the films will be like. I'm going to read the book. Don't do that. Wait until the end of the next film that's going to come out next year, and then read the book, because all it will do is ruin the film for you. It's kind of what it did with me. It didn't ruin it because I still enjoyed watching the film, but unfortunately, instead of giving it a really high mark that I was expecting to give it from the first one I would have given it sort of a 9 or a 10 out of 10. But this one, I'm going to give a 7. Mostly because my favourite bits in the book weren't in the film. I'll give you an example. I'm going to do spoilers. I don't care. If you don't want to hear spoilers, go away now. Character of Bomber in the first book, the big fat dwarf with a beard, who in the book is hilarious. In the film, he's got no lines. He mumbles and he goes a bit, but otherwise, he's got no lines. In the book, sometimes he's happy, sometimes he's a miserable little git. All the bad things seem to happen to him, but in the film, he gets knocked out of a barrel. It's still, granted, that's a hilarious scene. He gets knocked out of a barrel and does sort of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle thing where he ducks into the barrel and has a little fight. That's very good. But there's another character. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I call him Bayron. I can't remember what the film called it now because I watched it, unfortunately, 2 days ago because I've had things going on and I've had a sore throat, so I've only been able to get around to the video now. But this Bayron character, he's a skin changer, and in the book, not much of a history about him. He's just a guy that turns into a bear, and everyone accepts that. Unfortunately, the thing in the book I would have imagined as a hilarious comedy moment in the film, which would have been a lovely little stop and pause, so you don't have as much to think about, and the viewer can have a relax. And it's what it is the dwarves have to go up to Bayron's house in pairs of 2, so that this giant man/bear monster doesn't get really pissed off and kill them. And they keep wandering up to the door, knocking on the door, and he's like, "Oh, for God's sake, why are you dwarves still coming? Arg, arg, arg. Oh, never mind. Have some beer." And he's very, very sort of annoyed, but not pissed off about it. Whereas in the film, he establishes that he hates dwarves, and that's it. That's all he says. He goes, "I don't like dwarves." And he just treats him to all the hospitality that he's got, and that's not. I didn't like that at all. I was hoping for a bit of expansion on Bayron, because I thought he was a very good character to have, and they did nothing with him, which was a bit of a shame, really. Another little part is it's actually this whole section of the film, really. Come to think of it, it's where they're going through Mirkwood, and in the book. This is all I'm going to come back to. I'm going to go in the book, this happened, because this is the mistake I made. I read the book in between films. In the book, they go through Mirkwood, and there's a stream. And Bomber, again, not mentioned, falls in the stream. The other dwarves and Bilbo pull him out, and he's asleep. Because this stream knocks you out and just makes you fall asleep. And then they have the comedy moment of having to drag Bomber around Mirkwood, looking for the road that they've lost. And in the book, they come across a load of little elves having parties just off in the distance, and they go up to the elves, and the elves get scared, belt off into the forest, and the dwarves chase them around, and then they get attacked by the spiders. In this, they don't. That doesn't happen. In the film, they get attacked by the spiders, and the elves rescue them, only to get thrown in prison. Spoilers, I told you. But again, it's a different way around. Alex, I'm accepting it, but it's the next bit that annoys me the most. is the elf king Thranduir, I think he pronounced his name, I'm not too sure, is mental. He's just absolutely mental. You assume all the elves are kind of like Elrond and Galadriel, and all the other elves, even Legolas from the first 3 films. They're all calm, nice, happy elves. Well, happy. But instead, Thranduil is basically a man with pointy ears. He's basically the steward of Gondor from the 3rd film, whose name escapes me. I'm terrible with names, especially Lord of the Rings names. He's basically like that. He's slightly insane and really pissed off about everything. And all I kept thinking was, that's not how elves behave. I know he's a wood elf, and they're not the same as the other elves, but that's not how they're supposed to act, even if he is really, really cross. They're not supposed to act like that. Another one was when they're escaping in the barrels, which is a good scene, very, very good scene. The elves get drunk and pass out and start snoring. And I was like, ooh, I would never imagine an elf to pass out drunk snoring. Especially when Legolas, in the extended edition of Return of the King, which I watched a couple of days ago, doesn't get drunk. That's what I noticed. I thought the elves found it very, very difficult to get drunk, whereas these elves got smashed, absolutely smashed, off a couple of bottles of wine, and then passed out drunk. What else was there? And in the next scene, when they're running away from the orcs, that's a very good scene. I was actually pleased that they introduced Bolag, or however you pronounce his name. It's not mentioned in the film, at least yet, but Bolag is Azog's son. They don't mention it. It's kind of a thing. He's a really big white orc as well, but he's got no nose or something. And you kind of assume that they're similar, because he doesn't mention that he's his son, but in the book it says he is. After that, they get to Lake Town. I liked everything about that. Even the little asides with the other dwarves, because mostly it focuses on Thorin, does the first film. But this one, you kind of get a bit more of a story from Keely, Feely, and Jason Nesbitt, I think he's Bofa, but I can't remember. He's the very, very Irish dwarf. I can't remember his name. After that, they get to the Lonely Mountain, and it doesn't feel from the start where they're actually still running away from the Orc Pack, to Bayron, to Lake Town, through Mirkwood. It doesn't feel like there's any sort of breath taken. Sometimes it's a good thing to have a really quick pace in a film, but this film is a third of one very thin book that they've based this on, and they've missed little bits out that people would have liked. They'll probably be in the extended editions, no doubt, but they've missed out on slowing the pace down a bit, maybe giving a bit more substance to the last film, because from what I've seen in this film, not a lot's going to happen in the next film, except for one huge battle, from what I can gather. But everything was too quick for my liking. I would have liked it just to slow down a pace so you could feel like you're going, hang on, when's the action not going to happen? There didn't seem to be a lot of meaningful dialogue. They just seemed to be fight, 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 fight. That was it. There didn't seem to be a lot of taking the time to stop and notice things. There was just too much action going on. That being said, when they got to Smaug, all I've seen of Smaug really is a couple of sneak previews of his head. I've never seen him talk. I've never seen his mouth move. You just see the voiceover in the trailers. And I've seen a little bit on the appendices of the first Hobbit, where you see Benedict Cumberbatch, which I said in the first video, who has a weird head and was surprised about the motion capture. That's all I've seen, basically. And from what I saw of the motion capture, it seemed completely unnecessary. I was blown away by Smaug. I was there, sitting in the cinema doing this. Because I thought Smaug looked amazing. He was animated brilliantly. no expense was spared on Smaug. You could tell that they tried very, very hard, and Benedict Cumberbatch's voice really fit with this big, imposing dragon. The problem with no expense being spared to Smaug was that some of the other things looked a little cheap. I noticed that Martin Freeman, Bilbo Baggins, looked younger in this film than he did in the last film. Mostly because they didn't sort out his makeup properly. He just looked smooth. He looked like he had no pores, no tired lines, no nothing. He just looked like a mannequin statue of Martin Freeman. Still a good film, and I'll still probably buy it on the extended edition just to see what else he's got. But it's not as good as the first Hobbit, and it probably won't be as good as the third. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to just end the review there, because I have something else that I want to sort of mention before I go, because it's been well over 10 minutes that I've been rambling. It's all been about this one film, so I'm going to add something else. And it is, I picked this up when I was in Chester. There was a sweet shop that used to be inside the shopping centre. It's now moved just to the outside of the shopping centre. That sells American sweets and candies and whatnot. It sells Twinkies and, all the other things that you can't get in this country unless you go to specialised places like that. And I've had Twinkies before. I like Twinkies. But the thing I've had for the first time yesterday was a moon pie. I have it here. I don't know if the actual image is going to be the right way around, because for some reason it's backwards when I'm looking at it, but I can't actually mirror it for some reason. But that's moon pie, chocolate moon pie, and it's double-decker. A double-decker moon pie. I know that's backwards, but it still says double-decker. All I can think of is, why the hell do people buy these? I tried it. I had a half of it with my girlfriend, because it's quite a big packet. I had half of one with my girlfriend, and I opened up the packet, realised, I looked at it, and just went, oh, that's a giant wagon wheel. But not just is it a giant wagon wheel, it's two giant wagon wheels that they've smushed together. And then ripped it in half, and it says, oh, it is just marshmallow and biscuit. It's just a wagon wheel. Bit into it, and I was like, chewing away, just trying it. Looked at my girlfriend, looked back at the packet, and we just decided, we just almost said it at the same time. We went, this tastes of nothing. They taste like you're chewing gum that doesn't have any flavour in it anymore. That's basically what you're eating when you eat this moon pie. I don't know if it's just this brand, but it does say the original marshmallow sandwich, but it just tastes like you're not eating a thing. Plus, it's really, really bad for you. And it was £1.50, which is a bit of a rip-off when you think that it tastes like nothing. There's the website, www.moonpie.com. You can go on there if you want. I haven't yet, but just because it didn't taste very nice. But if you want to try them, be my guest. You can give me your opinions on Moon Pie. Also, give me your opinions on the Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug. Leave a comment down below if anyone actually gets around to doing that after watching stuff like this, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Goodbye.